I wanted to talk a little bit more about video games now because I think we are going to see a complete transformation this year.
Yes.
So, Google debuted a new video game streaming service called Stadia
Uh-huh.
and today, and this is so exciting. Basically, it means that you can now stream 4K and even 8K video games over the internet to your devices.
Wow.
So this was announced in San Francisco at the Game Developers Conference, the GDC.
Hmm.
So it's not a dedicated console or a set-top box. What that means is you don't have to buy a Nintendo or a PlayStation or an Xbox. It's can go on anything.
Well, how
So
does it work?
in the demonstration, they actually just pulled out a Chromebook, and as you know, Chromebooks are like low-end,
Cheap, cheap.
cheap, slow processors. I mean, they've been using these in schools for the last few years, and
Yes.
really not very expensive at all. So they whip out the Chromebook, and then they immediately start playing really fancy games right on a low-end PC. And they pick up where the game left off in real time. And so they say that you can actually start playing a game on YouTube, and that's how it's going to work. So you're going to be on YouTube. Maybe you want to play Command and Conquer. Maybe you want to play Black Ops. Maybe you want to play the latest Prince of Persia. I don't know what you're into. So you go there on YouTube, you type
Hmm.
it in, and then there's going to be a button that's an option to start playing the game. They say within 5 seconds on most machines and phones and whatever you're game playing on, it'll start up. And so Assassin's Creed, you can do that in 4K. And yeah, they say in 5 seconds it's going to launch.
So what you need is you need the a browser, which isn't much, right?
Yeah,
Chromebook is all you need. You'll probably want that 4K screen,
of
so
course.
like a nice monitor or a TV that you're streaming it to, and then you'll need the bandwidth. So you're going to need an internet service provider that can give you the bandwidth. Did they say anything about the data that you would be using to be streaming that kind of? Well,
Well,
it
here's
may
the
not
thing.
be a lot.
It's on YouTube.
Yeah,
So if you can do a 1080p video on YouTube, you
it's
can
the same.
play Assassin's Creed in 1080p on YouTube.
Yeah,
So it's the same because all of the processing is going on in the cloud. And
right.
they say they have over 250 countries that they have this cloud data processing on. So you could be in England, you could be in Canada, you could be Australia. You're going to be able to play these really fancy games in 1080p if that's how fast your internet goes. And if you have an even faster process, I watch 4K all the time on Netflix. If
Hmm.
you're running Netflix and you're watching the latest Arrested Development in 4K, you can play Assassin's Creed in 4K.
Yeah.
And so I think this is a really great thing. What I picture and envision seeing is things like Roku, things like Apple TV, things that are already set up for your living room, the NVIDIA Shield, things like that I think are going to be really popular to play these games on. And what I'm hoping is that more and more game developers will start to grab onto this model.
And I see the next step would be virtual reality in the same way,
Oh yeah, I didn't even think about
right?
that.
They
That's
already
really
have
cool.
YouTube VR things that you can watch. And so you do need to double the power because you're going to need the resolution for each eye. And you'll need to get the refresh rates up, which is also more bandwidth that you need to use and more processing power that's going to be happening in the cloud. But that's probably the next step. And so you won't need the $1,000 or gaming rig with the latest and greatest graphics card. You'll just need something that could plug into the internet and put on your VR helmet because your VR
Yes.
helmet will already have a browser in it. So I think this is wonderful. And Google's not the first to do this,
No, of course not.
right? There
But
have been streaming services before. PlayStation had their streaming service not at 4K, but I believe they did it at 720p. When they had the Vita, that was maybe 5 years ago when they were doing 720p. Then they kicked it up to 1080p, but they didn't have a lot of games. And I know Nvidia does it, but I'm not sure if it's true streaming. I think they would actually, and our listeners can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you have to have an NVIDIA graphics card on a computer, and then it would use the graphics power from your card. But I could be completely wrong. It may just be you've bought an NVIDIA card, which gives you access because you've invested in the NVIDIA company to their servers, which are processing everything in the cloud. So it's one of those two things, and I think it's pretty neat. Now, this is going to be a service, right?
Yes.
A
Yeah, you're gonna have to
subscription.
pay for it. I didn't get any information on the numbers, but I mean, think about how cool it would be to just be on YouTube and click a play button for a fancy game. I mean, how
Yep.
frustrating is it to go out, buy a whole console that's like $200-300? You have to get all the controllers, you have to get all the wires in your living room. I'm
Hmm.
so sick of wires and things. Honestly,
Yeah.
I don't have a big house. I just want my TV screwed into the wall and no wires anywhere,
Yeah.
you know?
And
And
TVs are coming with their own browsers now too.
yeah.
They're all
And
coming smart.
and maybe, you should hold off on buying a big screen TV if you're in the market now, because perhaps when this is launched, we can find out which companies support it. And that way you don't have to get an extra Roku or an extra NVIDIA Shield. It'll
Yep.
just come with your TV.